Right, we're live. That's it. We're live. Henry Wynne is joining us today. You're jumping straight in, man. Just filling in, doing a little
Yeah,
co-hosting. How you feeling about this?
I feel good. Devon's been doing a great job, so I have big shoes to fill, and I just hope I can do all right.
Well, Devin is he's traveling. He's on the West Coast. He's gonna try to pop in. He's catching a flight. I think he's going up to Eugene or something
Okay,
tonight.
coming up to
Um,
me, close to me at least.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So he's gonna try to pop on because we have a big guest coming on in a little bit. Taylor Fletcher, legendary Nordic combined, four-time Olympian. We can't say this one enough. Goes out in style. He just retired and he won his last event.
That's you
Like
don't see that very often.
that's like Jeter.
Going out with a bang.
Jeter hitting the home run for his 3,000th hit. Like it's one of those things.
Yeah,
Come on.
that's
That's
pretty
pretty good.
awesome.
So, Henry, I do have to read some accolades though about you. First of all, this is day 23 of these live streams. All right, this is like crazy. We're doing them every Monday and Wednesday. It's called "What Were You Thinking?" We now have over 2.4 million views, and this is the craziest number: 26,000 hours watched.
That's insane.
It's nuts. We just thought we were goofing around, and then it got serious. But so for people that don't know you, I just want to throw out some of your accolades, and you're feel free to like join in and give me more. I'm gonna start
We don't miss any big ones.
at the bottom of your list though is 8-time All ACC. That's at the bottom of your list, right?
Yeah,
3-time ACC champ, 4-time All American, NCAA champion, a 351 miler, not too shabby.
not too. I
And
think you might have missed a few ACC titles, but I'll let that slide.
oh, we do. We're missing. We have more.
Some relays and individual events, things like
Oh,
that.
this is what I'm talking about. Add more. That's amazing, dude. So let's spend a minute to see what are you up to, what's going on with your training, and what are you gearing up for?
So I just came off the indoor season where I got third at the U.S. Indoor Champs. So that was a great one. It was a pretty short season, only 3 races. So it was really more about building the base, getting ready for outdoors. And now I'm in Seattle at our home base right at the moment. And then in a couple of weeks here, we're going to head back to Albuquerque training camp. And from then on out, the goal is to make the Eugene team in outdoors. But along the way, I've got a lot of big races opening up with actually a 5K May 6th. So
Wow.
we'll see how that goes. It's like a, you know, kind of a fun opener where our team gets to race each other in an off event, and then from there, just doing 1500s and 800s, and really getting ready to try to make that team.
So the way that you kind of like gear yourself up to make the team, are you because you run multiple events. So what are you going to focus on to try to make the team, or will it be all of them you'll attempt to?
No, so they make it the schedule's pretty hard at the U.S. champs to actually try to double with especially with the 15 because it's kind of smack dab in the middle sometimes.
Right.
My other event, the 800, it's possible, but it's a tall task because you have to do prelims and finals, and at the Olympic trials, you have to do first round, prelim, then final. So if you
Wow.
want to try to do 6 races in, not that many days, then you go for it. But not many
So
people at the higher distances do it. Some people do, especially when you get to the longer events where you don't have to do prelims sometimes.
right.
But for me, I'm just going to be focusing on the 15 because
Yeah, I
two
think
races in
well,
3 days is
this is
enough.
another thing I don't think people realize, right? So in essence, to do one race, you're doing like three races.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
Yeah,
like for me, the Olympic trials last year was 3 races in 4 days. So it's a pretty hectic week.
three races in 4 days. This
And
is
I think they all got faster. So you have to make sure
oh
you're not too
man,
tired.
oh man. All right, so if Devin were on here early, he's become such a fan of all these winter Olympic sports. He's kind of getting addicted to it, I think. And
Gonna switch.
Nordic combined, yeah, he has his eyes on ski jumping. So we're gonna talk to Taylor a little bit about that. But why don't we? I see Taylor hovering here in our chat. So I'm gonna bring him in, and let's have some fun. Grab Taylor now.
What's going on?
Hey
There he
there.
is.
How you guys doing today?
Taylor, what's happening?
Oh, just another beautiful day here in Park City. I think it was like almost up to 50 degrees today. So, spring's coming. Looking forward to getting out on some spring skis and enjoying life a little bit.
Nice.
I'm not sure if you probably have never met Henry Wynne. Henry, meet Taylor.
Nice to meet you.
What's going on, man? Nice to meet you.
So Taylor, how we like to have summer athletes and winter athletes kind of mixing it up. My job today is just to kind of keep things moving along because I just want to get out of the way of you and Henry, basically. But I do want to kind of kick it off with, it's almost like I want to start from the end because it's a logical place, right? You announced your retirement. You seem pretty definitive in the announcement. Didn't seem like there's any like doubt or wiggle room, is there?
I don't know if I'm going to be pulling any Tom Brady-esque moves here.
That's what I was getting at.
He's obviously had a much longer career than I have, but there's a time and a place where it makes sense, and for me that time was this last Sunday for sure.
So, and Henry, I'll toss it back to you in a second here. But just to follow up on that, so how do you come to that decision? So this is something every day for so many weeks and months and years, and the buildup of your whole career and 4 Olympic games, and here you are, hanging up the skis, right? How do you come to that decision? What is that like?
It's kind of a process. You know, as Olympians go, you're always in that 4-year cycle. You finish one, can I make it another 4 years? For me, made the 2010 team, made the 2014, the 2018. I had a brief stint where I thought, okay, maybe my career's done. Wasn't having as much fun, and then found that energy quickly, and I was like, I still have another 4 years of this sport for sure. And so, made some sacrifices, decided to keep going, and loved it. But then COVID hit, and COVID was a major factor for me in that decision to kind of move on to a next career. A lot of uncertainty in the world. Wasn't necessarily having the results that I was wanting to have, uh, but it was also looking forward to having the opportunity to kind of settle down, as crazy as it seems, to get a job. Um, have a little bit more sense of security when it came to uh, things in this world right now. But the biggest factor is I'm really looking forward to being able to go have fun. Go for a cross country ski and not have to, focus on being in a certain zone. Go alpine skiing and not have to worry about, blowing an ACL. If a friend wants to call and say, "Hey, let's go grab a beer," I can go grab a beer. So it's the simple factors in life that I'm really looking forward to, and getting out, playing some golf, and enjoying it.
It looks like, though, from here, it looks like you actually did go out and have a beer. From, I don't know if this tweet's popping up.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and
For some
we'll see
reason,
if
my
that
tweet's
pops up
not
here.
popping up. Yeah, let me try to hide it and bring it back in because this is just too good. Well, we're having some issues with that. That's all right. It was basically, Henry, a photo of Taylor dressed in some goofy some goofy costume with a 40.
No. So a little backstory to that. A couple of my good friends decided to come out to my last event, and for Halloween this year, we were some animals. So we had a cow, we had a kangaroo, and I was a giraffe. So they showed up wearing those out in the cross country course, and I think it was close to like nearly 50 degrees at the end of the race. And, you're wearing a black race suit in the heat, going as hard as you possibly can. And, you know, I'm not one that likes to just crash onto the ground after the race, which you see so normal in cross country. But due to the heat, that snow felt pretty good. And one of my friends came running up right as I collapsed to the ground and handed me a 40 ounce of some Miller Lite. And, I'm not one to really drink right after a competition, but a quick sip of that, was refreshing because it was ice cold.
Champagne of beers as well. It's a good way to celebrate.
Absolutely.
I was going to ask, as being a, oh, there it is, popped
There,
up.
there it is.
That does look refreshing.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, obviously being an endurance athlete for your entire life so far, how did waking up on that Monday feel and knowing you didn't have to worry about practice or anything?
Odd. In all stretches, I mean, you know how it is. You plan every single day. You understand, hey, next week I've got a big distance block or intensity block. So to wake up and be like, I don't have to train, I don't have to, do anything was a shock to the system. And honestly, it started the night before. I don't have to
Hmm.
get all my gear ready for the next day. But I'm the type of person that always likes to stay busy. So I was at my office for work at 8:30 the next morning, grinding away.
That to me is fascinating, you guys. This idea of that, like, it almost reminds me of like coming out of college and into a job, and you're like, oh, this is my job every day. Like, not that you guys know that because you've been
Yeah,
doing
we don't
this
know
as a
that feeling.
job.
I don't know that
So,
feeling. At least.
so it's a bad analogy, but that is crazy though, Taylor. Where you're like, it's right. It's so regimented. It's so, and of course, within you is all that energy that it takes to kind of harness and build up every time you're doing this, and suddenly it's just like that's all turned off. Like, how does your body react to that?
It wants to sleep. That's for sure. It happens every year when you finish the competition year and you have your, recovery period. In our world, it's about 2 weeks. Um, you start to like dig into a hole because you've essentially switched a light switch off that, I don't have to train. I need to focus on the recovery. Well, you get tired after a little bit. And for me, as soon as I started getting really antsy at home, that's usually when I would start training again. So, we're only 4 days into my retirement. So I'm sure, these levels of energy, missing the sport, all that's going to kind of fluctuate, probably pretty greatly. But, I've looked back on my career and everything that I've done, and I can say I'm proud and that I'm retiring. And some people say they're retiring when maybe they're quitting. I've been able to have some results that I feel like allow me to say I'm walking away on a good note, and hopefully I've left a good legacy.
Yeah, I think of you, and Henry, I want to kind of ask you this too. When I think of you, Taylor, I I see you pushing so hard. You're like one of those people. I'm not really sure where you're getting that drive to have you. I just remember. I think it was at the U.S. trials at Lake Placid where you came up that last hill, and it was just like, all right. I think it was the last hill where you're
Mhm.
just like, this is it. I'm doing it right here, and it was like, oh my god, and it was like you can't imagine how steep that is on TV. So I want to ask both of you guys though. Again, where do you find that extra push, that extra drive, that people talk about, whatever, that next gear when you've already spent what seemingly is everything already? Where do you guys find that?
You can go first, Taylor, on this since
Oh man.
I want to hear about this
Um,
hill.
yeah, I mean, for like the instance of Olympic trials, there's an Olympic spot on the line. Ours is you win, you go to the Olympics. Only Olympic eligible athletes are able to make it. So uh, to be able to qualify my spot for the Olympic team in December, is a big goal that's checked off. And the other thing is there was a decent prize money available. So, 10K to the winner, for me, that can go a long way. And so you find whatever ounce of energy. I've talked about how, Billy DeMong was always saying 10 more seconds, 10 more seconds. And, it's so true in the world of endurance sport. Every aspect of your body is hurting, but mentally, if you can challenge yourself to go that little bit longer, then you're going to find the energy and the strength to really push it. But for me, a big aspect of it was rooted in my development. We worked for everything that we got. Parents worked hard. I've had a job my entire life, to make sure that I can be comfortable, and so it's not over until it's over.
That's awesome. How about you, Henry?
Yeah, I think a lot of the same things apply. I mean, a lot of times you don't really know where it comes from, or at least I don't know where it comes from. You got the last 100 meters, and then all of a sudden you have that last surge of energy. You see the finish line, maybe somebody's coming up on you. And I think in racing, especially, the closer you get to the finish line, sometimes the easier it gets. And so I read this cool book, maybe last year, and it was talking about how your body and your mind are capable of a lot more than you actually give it credit for. You can push yourself further than you think you can. And so I've really brought that into my racing, where it's like when you think you've hit the wall, then really the wall's further. Like that's a imaginary one. So I try to keep that in mind when I'm in a race. Like, all right, if I stay comfortable, push past this point, then I can do more than I think I'm capable of in the moment. And then as I get closer to the finish line, 100 meters is a lot easier to comprehend than a mile. So it's easy to push
So
yourself a couple more seconds.
So it's so true because in our races, we race a 10K that's split into 4 laps, so 2.5 Ks each. My third lap is probably my hardest lap.
Yeah.
Mentally, you start to kind of question, hey, do I have enough strength to get me through one more? Can I make up that 30 seconds on the next group or to the podium? Um, when I usually get through that third lap, then I'm in a better place to be able to push it even harder for that fourth one. And it's so interesting because you can be out of it 1 second and right back in the other, and everything clears up, and you're like, I can do this. Let's go.
It's funny to hear you say that because the miles, obviously it's 4 laps around the track, and the third lap is the miler. That's like where people fall apart and die. So it's just far enough where you're hurting, but not close enough where the finish line's in sight. And so I think that's the
Absolutely.
hardest one. And do you guys have a bell lap, or what's the final?
No, because the way our sport works, most of the time so Nordic combined is your race starts based off your jumping. And so you have people staggered all throughout the start list from a second to nearly 4 or 5 minutes back. So your object in the race is to push it as hard as you possibly can for as long as you possibly can and make up as much time as you can.
Mhm.
And I'm known for fast skiing and poor jumping. So I've got to go out there and work every single time, and it takes a lot of energy. And I won't lie, it's worn me out. It's beat me down. And to have a good race is unbelievable. But our sport, the first person to cross the finish line is the winner. It doesn't matter if you've had the fastest time. I mean, if it did, I would have been the winner of nearly 40 World Cups. But I haven't won a single World Cup or Olympic medal.
So Taylor, tell us about that a little bit again, just so if Devon Allen was here, he'd already be coaching us on all this. Break down, how does Nordic combined work? Give us like the detail of, all right, I'm a spectator and I know nothing. Tell us how this sport works.
So you start with ski jumping. So ski jumping, you got to jump as far as you possibly can. The furthest jump usually is the winner. But what's interesting is you have style points and you have distance points. So judges are giving you style points based on symmetry, your landing, your air flight, and kind of a little bit the distance as well. Um, those give you total score, your style score, and then for the jumping, you have the distance score as well. So if I go 120 meter on a 120 meter hill, I get 60 points. For every meter past that, I get an additional 1.8 points, or if I go short of that, I lose 1.8 from 60. So then your style and your distance are added up. That's your total score. So then it's converted into time back from the winner of the jumping round. So I could be 4 points back and start 16 seconds, or I could be 15 or 30 and start a minute or 2 minutes back. And then the cross country starts with bib 1 going out at 0-0. And depending on how many points back you are in your time is when you go. And so it's a matter of whoever crosses that finish line after 10K is the winner of the day. So you might, see who's leading for 7.5K, and then all of a sudden someone comes charging along and takes the lead and crosses the finish line within the last 100 meters, kind of like track and field. But we're not all starting at once, which is the challenge.
Henry, isn't that kind of crazy?
That is crazy. It's I can't imagine racing people with a handicap, I would say, trying to catch up to somebody, because I'm sure, especially at your level and the Olympic level, people are probably fairly similar speed wise. So it just makes it even harder. So you said the person who gets the longest jump, they typically win, or is that?
Yeah, I mean, they don't win the overall 90 like all the time, because there are people that are really strong jumpers and some that are really strong cross country skiers.
Mhm.
Jarl Magnus Reber from Norway has been the overall champ the last 4 years, and he's probably one of the best jumpers and probably one of the top 10 best skiers. So, for him to be beat in the jumping or to beat in the race is pretty challenging, and you have to have maybe an unbelievable race or at least a really good final kick in order to snatch it away from him. But I had a podium in 2015 in Sapporo, Japan, and I think I started bib 30 and
Wow.
was able to. I know I had a 2-minute and 4-second deficit to first place,
Wow.
but every single race is different, and groups form out on the course. So you might catch somebody and you might catch a big group, and essentially you're racing for that front of that group. And I was able to put in a really hard move on the start of the 4th lap, about 2.5K from the finish, and dropped everyone but 2 other guys, and then they came by me in the finish lanes, and I finished 3rd. But it's exciting because it changes constantly, and it's not over till it's over.
Yeah, I would say the only comparison I can make in track would be maybe a relay race where you get the baton behind somebody, and every time I've ever done that, I always think it's fun to catch people. You have somebody that's like a target on somebody's back. You're trying to pass people. So is that like your mindset as well? Just like next guy, just getting past one person at a time?
Yeah, my mindset would be if I catch somebody, then I beat them.
Yeah.
I don't want them to pass me again. I get really pissed off when someone's sitting on me for a half a lap or something and not working with me, because if we can work together, then we can get further up the rankings and catch more people, and it's not as taxing on both of us. But people know me as an aggressive racer, and someone that goes out and skis as hard as they can regardless of my ranking after jumping. So it's fun, and it's definitely different. I'll have to find a way to find that thrill again,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to do that.
It just feels good to beat somebody who's been sitting on you for a while, right?
Absolutely.
How do you guys think of that? I mean, there are parallels clearly between your individual events and sports, and how do you take us into your let's get into the what were you thinking? Take us into your mindsets for both of you guys as you're planned a race, but then as the races unfold, obviously it's not always as planned because everyone has a plan, so they're doing their own thing. So suddenly that's a factor in your plan. So how does that work for you guys? How do you plan a race, and then how do you think about it as you're racing?
Henry, you got to go first in this one.
Okay, I have a lined up answer. I would say the more veteran I get in the sport, and Taylor, I've been doing track or I've been a pro for like about 5 years now. So let's say I'm getting old for an endurance event, but I'm only 26. But I'd say the more I do it, the less I plan. I have goals in mind for specific parts of the race, like where I want to be after the start, where I want to be after halfway, where I want to be with maybe a lap to go. And obviously you want to be in the front when you cross the line, but I don't plan out really any specific goals. I just kind of know I want my ideal position to be. And if something happens in the race um, that doesn't go my way, or maybe somebody trips in front of me, or maybe somebody tries to trip, or not tries to, but trips me up, then I really want to be able to bounce back from that quickly and not freak out because my plan has unraveled. And so I really tried to picture this. I did a lot of negative visualization, which I heard that Michael Phelps did, where you picture the worst things happening. You don't picture everything happening perfectly, because that's never how it happens. So I pictured like my shoes coming off. I pictured falling. I pictured all this stuff. And actually, in the Olympic trials last year, in the round, my face was about this far off the ground. I caught myself and got back into the race, and just my heart was pounding because we had 2 laps to go. And so I just controlled my breathing, kept going, and made it to the next round, where I think maybe last year, even earlier in that season, if something that jarring happened, I would have freaked out. And so, the less planned, the better, I think.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, for me, obviously, you look at the start list after the jumping round, and you kind of look at the time gaps between yourself and what may be groups or individual skiers. And then you kind of look and say, hey, I've got a good ride 15 seconds up. Maybe, you go out there and you try to catch them right away, so you can kind of sit there for a little bit, recover, and then launch your next move. But, for me, the biggest thing is you want to go out, you want to have a good race. And so you can't start, as hard as possible, because you're gonna falter. Negative splitting is a big thing in our world. Honestly, I say I've probably done that just a handful of times, because you get out there and it completely throws a loop into your plan. And so for me, really, I look at that plan. I go out, I have a good hard first lap, but give myself a little bit of room to increase that pace a little bit. And then, if I'm tired, I try to get behind someone to get some rest. And so I'm not the one breaking the wind all the time. And then when I feel ready, I go again. And so I could honestly say, I think in my entire career, there haven't been that many races where it feels like it's been a blueprint, and, I would have expected that to happen.
Really? Wow. That's so pretty much. You're saying the great majority of your races are unexpected.
You have an idea of
Things
what's
that
going to happen, and where you're going to finish, but you throw in all the variables. Like, unlike running, we have skis that are a main factor. You can break poles, your ski can come off. The wind is a huge factor. So if you miss the wax on skis, you can be a minute, 2 minutes slower in a blink. So you're not going to be able to make up that much time.
So wait a
So
minute there, Taylor. What is miss the wax on the skis? What does that mean?
So, we put so much time and energy into making sure our skis are prepped for the conditions. So, we have a dedicated staff that waxes our skis, and, there's structure in the ski to help, repel the snow and the water, also give it a little bit of stability. So all of that comes into play. And if you don't hit it right, then, if for Henry, it would be like running in normal road shoes versus running in spikes. Um, it's a
Wow.
big, big difference. And, you know, the minute you step on the skis, are they going to be fast? Well, they can also start to die at the end of the race. And so it's a big factor in our sport. And fortunately, we have a great team that provides good skis all the time, and you know gives us the best opportunity to succeed.
I had no idea that existed. This now reminds me though, because Billy said something about look on the podium. I forget who it was. It was Norway or someone. And it's like all those people behind, that's their whole team that are like the ski wax team. And it's like they have more than anybody or something. It was like,
Yeah, I mean, we had 2 wax techs um, in the Olympics where Norway had, I think, about 10. So, they're 5 times the amount of people that are waxing their skis. You have guys that work on top coats, guys work on powder structure, testing the race skis, testing the test skis. There's so many components that the everyday person, wouldn't really understand. And it's a matter of getting the best skis for every guy and allowing them to go out and do the race. A lot of times the best jumper after the day gets the best skis, but if I'm right behind someone who's probably a minute slower than I am the cross country, they might give me the best skis because then I can go out there and move up maybe a little bit further. Whereas, if they get the best skis, they might not fall back as far. So there's a lot that goes into it, like I said, and you're just hoping that every day you have the fastest skis out there and you can cause as much damage as possible.
that's wild. Did you ever imagine that, Henry?
No, I think I like doing a sport where you don't have to worry too much about the equipment. Sounds like
See,
a lot.
I can't imagine what it's like to, go to a competition with a bag.
Yeah.
Let
You
alone,
just carry them
in our sport, we have a ski bag that's 290 centimeters long, a suit bag, and a duffel bag that's got not only just our clothes, but all of our other equipment, boots and helmets and all that. So we're a traveling circus every time we're at the airport.
Yeah, that sounds like a bit of a pain in the ass going on a plane like that.
Yeah.
We've had the recent debate with the super spikes in track. I don't know if you've heard of anything about this, but it's like companies are creating different spikes, and there's all this debate whether or not one company's spike is X% better and if it's good for the sport and all these things. So there's a lot of focus on equipment. Well, a lot of focus on equipment for track, since normally nobody cares. It's just you have shoes on, you run fast, and that's what matters. But the last year there was a lot of controversy over this.
So who do you think had the super spikes?
Well, I'm sponsored by Brooks, so I know last year they were working on them, but the Nike Super Spikes were the one that everybody was really hyping up, and thankfully Brooks, they put a team together and they created our own spikes. So we've been running fast in those things, and I'm happy to have them.
There you go. I've heard that some tracks can be considerably faster due to the compound of the rubber.
Some tracks are, some indoor tracks are. There's if the indoor track's hollow or if it has a little spring to it, it can be. But for the outdoor tracks, mostly it's the wind factor. It's the track surface, not necessarily as much unless it's like a super hard track. But luckily, as pros, we get to race on the nice one. I remember racing on some ones that looked like concrete when I was in high school, but I don't deal with that anymore.
Guys, one of the things that struck me with kind of bringing winter and summer athletes together is, just kind of it's almost like a different lifestyle, and I guess it's just pretty simple, right? I mean, you live in the mountains, right, Taylor? I mean, it's just like the mountain is your life. We had Rosie Brennan on a few weeks ago, and she now lives in Alaska. I think she grew up in Park City, though, actually.
She did.
But she just, so much of her love for cross country ski was her love for the mountains and being out in wilderness. She's like, I can't imagine my life without mountains. Is that how you feel about Nordic Combined and why you kind of pursued that career?
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I grew up in Steamboat, Colorado, another mountain town. Probably one of my favorite places in the world. Small, low key, everyone knows each other, and then moved to Park City in 2009. I don't know anything but the mountains. They're amazing. They give you direction. You know how to get around them, but the reward of going up and down them is something that's non-replaceable. But like, for example, I went to Boca Raton, Florida, for work last summer, and went for a nice distance run. My plan was just to run to the ocean. Well, there's no mountains. There's nothing to give me any vertical direction possible, and I ended up running to the border of the Everglades. Then I had about a 12-mile run to get back to where I was supposed to be able to get back to my hotel. I mean, I've considered myself someone that has good directional ability, but without these mountains, I can be lost.
Especially in Florida, that's about as flat as it gets.
Exactly.
I think it's funny to think that, if you had been born in Connecticut like I was, you might be a distance runner right now. If I had been born in the mountains, I might be doing, cross-country skiing or Nordic skiing.
So how much?
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
The funny thing about this is my father grew up in Connecticut. He grew up in Guilford. So thankfully he got the bug to come out west and hit the slopes. I blame him a little bit. He was kind of a free spirit. So he was venturing out and came to Steamboat and loved it, and then ended up staying there. So I very well could have been a Connecticut kid.
Probably would have been a great distance runner as well. I'm sure you have high VO2 max and all that.
How much? We were talking about this, Taylor, the other day, and Henry, for you too. So how much is it, nature, and how much is it nurture, right? You guys at the elite of the elite, and I'm fascinated by the concept, right? If your dad, if you don't move to Colorado, you're not going to be skiing that much.
No.
So, but it had to be in you at some point, because you may have not taken to it like you did.
Yeah, I mean, obviously your parents have a big influence on your life. They give you that free will kind of when you get older and allow you to do what you want. But, as soon as my dad taught my brother and I how to ski, he had essentially given us free will, and essentially, he had to hold us back from just charging down the mountains every single day. Both my brother and I had that, I want to go big mentality as kids and the zero fear. And, ski jumping was the cure to that. You jump off these massive jumps, and, it was a dream come true.
Hey, Henry, I want you to answer that too, but I want to play this video that we got from the folks at in Steamboat. Just Taylor, I don't know if we played this last time, but it's just,
Yeah, I mean, so
right, for you guys, it's just, this is what you do.
Yeah, I mean, you have freestyle athletes, you have snowboard, Nordic, alpine, everyone is on there. The community, I wouldn't be where I'm at without the community of Steamboat, the resort, the Winter Sports Club. It's the best after school program. Every day from, preschool or elementary school, you take the bus down there and you go to training, and then your parents come pick you up, you go eat dinner, and you repeat it for decades.
So Henry, was that
practice looks more fun for you guys than it did for us?
So Henry, yeah, you're getting the bug now, right? You're seeing some of the footage.
I love I'm a snowboarder actually, but I've only been like 3 times in my life, just because as a track athlete, I got to go when I was in high school. Then I went to college, and my coach told me, I'm going to kill you if you get injured snowboarding. So that's when I gave up my winter sports. And then as a pro, in my contract, I'm not allowed to do like things that would really put myself at risk like that. So, I don't want you to get mad at me, Taylor, for saying this, but I hate snow. I hate the winter time, but it's not because of, it's nothing against it. It's because I can't do any fun things during it. I see everybody going skiing and snowboarding, and I just am like, all right, well, I'm just going to slip now on the ice. So I'm excited for one day retiring and being able to come out to the mountains and enjoy it.
Henry, you and I could sit by the fire at the bottom of the mountain, and we could just watch Taylor do all his crazy stuff now that he can do crazy stuff.
I've done this before. I went to a ski trip with my friends for New Year's Eve a couple years ago, and I was going to the gym on the treadmill while they were skiing, and I was like, this isn't fun. I don't like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny. I've got a good buddy. He's actually the CEO of Ventum here, which is a bike company, and he's lived in the warm weather his entire life. And one crazy idea, he decided to move the company to Utah, which is how I met him. And I still think he's struggling with winter. There's I think it's the honest truth. Winter people have no problem with summer, but summer people have every problem with winter.
I think you're right on that.
You guys are just tougher than us. The cold gets to me.
I'm not going to argue that.
I've got one of my teammates, Garrett Heath. He's around your age, so I was, he was a cross country skier when he was younger, and he's from Minnesota, and he's much tougher than I am for sure. And when it comes to winter, like, it doesn't phase him. And when we're going outside and I'm freezing and he's just wearing a t-shirt or something, it annoys me.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so funny because we're so used to it that when it gets cold, we start to struggle a little bit for just a small period of time, a couple days, and then we, get used to it. But when it gets warm, then we start to struggle. And then you throw in that humidity factor, and I feel like I'm a fish out of water, struggling to survive.
Hey, Taylor, it dawned on me just kind of looking at both you guys here, and Henry, you might not be 21, but you're still, entering your peak years, and so thinking about that, Henry, for you, and Taylor, for you, looking back in your career that spanned a long time, and you've had 4 whole days to reflect on your career. What kind of advice, though, would you turn around to give Henry and where he is in his career now?
I mean, there's 2 things. One is we're lucky to be doing what we're doing, especially in the world today, with the war going on in Ukraine and COVID and all that. We're fortunate, and that I never gonna be grateful of. I mean, I respect it 100%, and I feel lucky to be doing everything I've done. But 2, and I've said this and people disagree with me, your worst day is also fun. And I've had the shittiest of competitions at some of the biggest moments, and never once was I was like, this sucks. It was always fun for me. And so, the message there is to enjoy the hell out of it, because you can be doing it one day and it can quickly go away. And so maybe a little philosophical, but I believe that it's there for a reason. And if you're doing it, take every chance, have as much fun as possible, and roll with it.
I like that mentality. I think I've been trying, there's days, and I'm sure you've had plenty of these days, like you said, that suck, and like putting a silver lining on all of them it helps a lot. Athletes, we all want the best out of ourselves, and if you don't make every team or you don't win every medal, you can really beat yourself up. But one thing I've tried to do, and I've worked with a sports psych recently, hey Devin, and one of the things that I'm doing is like trying to be proud of every competition that I have. Like, personally, if I don't win, if I can walk away being like, okay, well, I did my best, I prepared well, then I'm having fun as well.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to 2013. Was one of the top skiers, was getting World Cup podiums, World Championship medal. 2014, I think I qualified for 4 or 5 competitions all year long. So it's true that it can change really quickly, and you got to make sure that you can actually enjoy it.
For sure. And
Yo, Dev.
Say hi to Devin.
What's up, guys?
Sorry,
I was checking my bags in the airport. I'm traveling today, so got them in. Taylor, congrats on the comp this last weekend.
Thank you.
Congrats on the big win, and congrats on the retirement.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I saw some of the celebrations from the competition in Europe as well when you finished, and everybody was running and splashing you with champagne, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, no, that was always that will go down in my memory bank for sure.
That's super.
And then,
Devin's traveling, but he wanted to. He's like, no, I want to stop in and say hey to Taylor.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
want
I
to
mean,
see Henry too, but
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Good to see you,
it's
Devin.
a good group here.
Henry.
I'm pretty sure Devin wants to challenge me in this golf bet, so we'll see.
Oh,
what
we got
you
a
know what's
golf
crazy
bet
is
going on.
I just checked my clubs, so I'm bringing them with me. I'm running around for the next like 20 days, so I need to get some hours in while I'm on the road.
There you go.
So I just played 2 days ago. I shot 96. So
We still
I'm
have
getting
snow
there.
on the ground.
All right,
No, you can't play yet.
Henry, do you golf?
Yeah, no, that's one of our Connecticut sports for sure. So I grew up playing golf.
So we're probably all screwed.
I've lost a little bit, but I'm all right. We've got a few guys on the team who are pretty competitive, so we hit the driving range a lot. And I want to get on
There you
whatever you guys have.
Taylor, where are you retiring to? Just back home, or do you have like a new destination, spot where you're gonna move and live? And
Not Florida.
No, I mean, I'm here in Park City, and I've got really no plans to go anywhere. I love it here.
yeah, that's a good spot. Yeah.
Might spend a little bit more time in Steamboat, but I've got a place of my own here in Park City, and now I'm going to be able to kind of reap the rewards of all the skiing here and the golf courses, the mountain bike trails. So for
Well,
sure,
perfect. When I come up and me and Billy get on the ATVs for snowmobiles, I'm gonna make sure that you're included in that
let's do it.
too, so we can get out there on the snow.
I
It's
want
about the
to.
only thing I can do.
I want to see a team athlete swap kind of thing where Billy and Taylor, we kind of draw names out of the hat between Henry and Devin, and we team it up and swap sports, and then see.
I think Devin and I would have broken necks at the end of the day, and these guys would be just fine.
No,
I feel like we're gonna lose athletes because Henry's gonna get his contract ripped up, and people would not be very stoked on it. But I'm in.
I
might
mean,
be
I
the
want
only
to try
one.
the ski jump. I don't like heights or anything like that, so that might be a mark against me. But I would be willing to send it off one time. I want to do the one that goes into the water because that looked a little safer.
Hey, it's all style points at that point, right?
Yeah.
What is it if you fall on your head? I don't know how many points you get.
Not many.
Oh yeah, I imagine.
Well, hey boys, I just wanted to pop in. Taylor, congrats.
Thanks, man.
I gotta go catch my flight. So,
All right,
but
safe
good
travel.
seeing you, fellas.
Bye, Devin.
Yeah, Dev was he was psyched to come on and just say hey, and he's traveling. This is the beauty of the show, though. We can kind of do this anywhere. Yeah, a little technical difficulties here and there, but we can be all over the country and all over the world and do this. And
That's the
some
real
fun.
life of an athlete right there, traveling the country. So he had to show us the inside.
Yeah.
That's exactly. I think he's doing some things. I don't think he's announced anything, so I'm not going to say what he might be up to. We should, if we were on longer, I was going to tease him with it to see if he's going to allow us in. Hey, I have a couple of questions because we're kind of winding it down here. But one question for both you guys. The company's called World's Greatest, right? When I created the company at the beginning, it was all about. It doesn't matter if everybody's on the podium. That's not what we're talking about World's Greatest. It's a path and it's a journey for all of us in whatever we're doing. But to see you guys at the top of your sports, what do you really think it takes to be the greatest? What are those elements of being the greatest?
I'll say there's a couple. Commitment is one. Belief is two. And dedication, I would say, is three. I mean, dedication and commitment are pretty similar in those aspects, but just because you're on a team doesn't mean you're going to make it. You have to go out there and, work at it and push yourself to have that opportunity because, there's always someone else chomping at your bits, waiting for a spot on the team. So, those are the main factors. Obviously there's talent that's involved. and that comes from young age. It's identified pretty quickly these days. But even the most talented athletes, if they can't push themselves to, become the best, they're not going to get there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, you see a lot of talented people, and I think if every talented person reached their max potential, then every single world record would probably be changed. It'd probably be different players. But a talent that a lot of people don't like to talk about, or don't mention a lot, and don't give enough credit to, is the talent of actually showing up and working hard. I think it's underrated. It's especially when you're really talented at a young age. I would say it's hard to keep motivated throughout a long career. I mean, Taylor, you're 31. You've been at the top for a long time, and to be pushing yourself for that many years when you could easily make one Olympic team and lose motivation, it shows that you have like the inner drive, and I think that's what really makes like the world's greatest.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
would agree with that.
that's so cool. Henry, we usually end this part of the show, and Taylor will let you go while Henry and I wrap it up. But I'm going to toss this question to you, Henry, to ask Taylor. So we usually do a "What were you thinking?" question before we let our final guest go. So Henry, do you need a minute to kind of think of the "What were you thinking?" question, and we'll talk amongst ourselves, or do you have one top of mind?
The one just popped into my mind the second you said that, and so Taylor, being transparent, I haven't made an Olympic team. You have to be top 3, and I got 5th at the Olympic trials last year, so I'm close, and I'm working my ass off to get there. But my question for you, and this is something I hope to feel one day, is what were you thinking when you made your first team?
Oh man. So we gotta move all the way back to 2010, the season of 2009, 2010. My first year on the national team. Was never thinking about making the Olympic team. Obviously, that's far out there. That's something that, you dream of. But we had a stacked team. Johnny Spillane, Billy DeMong, Todd Lodwick, Brett Camerata, my brother. We had 10 guys on the team. 5 guys make the team. So for me, I never really thought. But the thing that, really helped me was I had some of the best skiers in the world to follow and to chase. And, Billy can say that Taylor was on my back from day one, challenging me, and had some couple good results that ended up qualifying me for the Olympic team. And I remember this day vividly. We were sitting outside of a hotel having a team meeting in Italy, and our coach, Dave Jarrett, at the time said, these athletes are going to France for the next World Cup. So I went and didn't really expect anything. And then that weekend, the Olympic team was announced and I was on it. And I was like, holy shit, like I just made the Olympic team. And, I was like kind of shocked because that's been the goal for, 20 plus years was, not 20 plus years, 10 plus years of skiing to be able to make that team. And all of a sudden I made it. And I'll say the minute I walked into opening ceremonies was when it really hit me. And, I didn't go this year just due to the risk of COVID, but it's one of the coolest things that you'll ever experience, walking in with all the Team USA athletes and coaches. It's something that, I'll definitely miss for sure, but it's the experience of a lifetime for sure.
Just
Good
hearing
question.
stories like that always give me like chills because that's
Yeah.
that's the goal.
That's the goal. I mean, keep pushing, keep fighting, and sure enough, you'll be there.
That's awesome.
That's what I tell myself. You always got to believe in yourself.
Well, so here's a good kind of second part to that. The 6th person that was trying to qualify for the team was my older brother.
Wow.
So
Wow.
he got beat by a kid that's 4 years younger than him for the first time at the Olympics for a Fletcher. What did he do that next year? He made his changes, cut out some sacrifices, and won a World Cup. So now he's the only Fletcher that has a World Cup victory. And he managed to win probably the biggest World Cup that you can win for Nordic combined, called the King's Cup. which is a pretty special deal because you get to meet the King of Norway and you get one of his like silver chalices that are super famous in Norway.
That's awesome. That's how you know you're a real competitor, when that could have easily been a blow to his confidence, and then he said, "No, I'm gonna try to one up you next year."
Yep.
That's like only brothers do that.
I mean, yeah, we fought all the time.
That's wild. You know what? I think next time we got to have you and your brother on.
That won't be a good thing. We'll just bicker all the time.
Oh, I want to see this. This is 100% going to happen now. It's so good. Well, Taylor, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's what a career. I mean, man, and I know, again, 4 days since retirement, but an amazing career, and there's so much to be proud of, and just so happy, for you and everything that you've accomplished.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Henry, you got to let me know if you're out in my neck of the woods.
I will. We do come out to Park City every once in a while for training camp, so I'll keep you posted. It was great talking to you.
I'll come for a run.
Yeah, go to Jeremy Ranch Road. I had the worst run of my life there.
That's good on my gravel bike these days, so I'm looking forward to that. Awesome, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Taylor. See you, buddy.
Bye.
That was pretty cool, huh, Henry? I mean, this is what I love about it, though. Here he is, like, I love your insight on that story, right? It could have been like that. Could have been like the devastating, blow to his brother's career, right? And just the opposite. It fueled, something that was great, like amazing, right?
Sometimes you need a kick like that.
Yeah, I mean, so what happens with that? So what is that like trigger then? Like, is it just that inner drive, and is that what happens then, like every day in practice, or is it just kicks in every now and again? Like, where does that come from, you think?
I think the inner drive, you don't need it every day. For an easy run, you don't need a lot of inner drive to get out there for 5 miles. So I would say it kind of ebbs and flows, where for Taylor's brother, that moment was like a big kick. And so that got him going, that got him motivated. I'm sure he thought about his brother making the Olympic team, one spot in front of him for the entire year, going into those big competitions the year after. So, I mean, I think all athletes, they have those moments, and it's really how they respond to them that, weeds out the champions from who falls to the wayside, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is a pretty good show. We already did an hour. Can you believe it? This is
it goes by fast.
Every one of these shows, it's like, what? We just did an hour. Like Devin and I did one the other day. It was like an hour and a half. It was over an hour and a half. Wow. We just looked at, we're like, yeah, we should just end this thing now. Even though we could still keep going.
Yeah, I'm sure Taylor and I could talk for a while, because it was interesting to talk to him, just because there's so many things that are in common between our two sports. Even hearing him say the third lap's the hardest, like that's the most well-known fact in mile racing. And so, we might not do the same sport. We don't even do it in the same conditions, but we struggle the same through things like that.
That I thought that was a pretty cool similarity, and obviously you picked right up on it. But
I heard third lap, and something goes in my mind when I hear that.
That was so cool. What are the other things that jumped out at you with Taylor?
I mean, it's great hearing from somebody like him, who's so accomplished. And what really jumped out at me with his story the most is that he's made 4 teams, and anybody who can drive themselves to make 4 teams is so impressive, because the second you make your first team, I think a lot of people struggle to bounce back from that high. That's like the ultimate high. And then you do it again. Okay, maybe you do it twice, then the third time. And he even said in 2018 that he was thinking about retiring, and then to bounce back from that to make a 4th team is like, he's a ultimate competitor and steps up when it really matters. And it sounds like he loves his joy for the sport, and his competitiveness really is what drives him.
Yeah, the other thing that's remarkable to me with those guys, and it's similar for you guys as well, but for them, it's so all of their teammates are their competitors. There's
Mhm.
right. I mean, he's literally training with every one of his competitors for the Olympic team, right?
Yeah, that would be
Right?
insane. I mean, there's so many milers in the U.S. and like so many top guys. It's like having one training group and then going to compete against them. Like I compete with a few guys that I race against,
Right.
but
But
having,
imagine if it was everybody. That'd be crazy, right?
it would be weird. I mean, at least if you're training with everybody, the one thing that would be nice is that you're gauging yourself off of them all the time. So when my teammates and I are in a race, if somebody who I've been training more consistently than or better than pulls away from me or starts going, I'm like, all right, I know I can stick with that guy. So I'm sure that's a similar thing in their sport where the top
Right.
guy knows, where he stands, but then there's obviously upsets when it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, this has been a fun show. I love finding these parallels, and sometimes we just kind of last minute bringing you in on the show, and then it's like, wow, this is pretty cool alignment.
Yeah, I'm happy I could be here for this, and it's cool to hear Taylor's story, and I want to check out some of his races because I've been hearing from my teammate Garrett, who I mentioned earlier. He's a big cross country skier, and he was like a state champion in high school, and so
Oh,
I
cool.
want to. I appreciate all these winter sports, and I know, that how hard they are. And I hear I've never tried them, but if my friend Garrett, who I race with and I train with, says they're hard, then I can take his word for that.
Yeah, I think I say this on almost every sport though, but I do think Nordic combined athletes could be like maybe the most fit. I don't know, but they can compete in like Tour de France style biking race it. Like they can do a lot of other things. So it's
Yeah,
pretty
that's what I was gonna say when you asked about. I think you showed the video, and then I didn't say my answer for that question earlier. Is about the branching of I was saying that I'm from Connecticut, so I do
right.
track. Taylor's from Colorado, so he ended up here. It's like you have a base, kind of like a base of a tree, and then all the branches are where your potential could have gone, but obviously
Yeah.
the nurture aspect of it is what drives you to your final destination.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's fun. I think too with like the way that you're similar to Devon. Maybe a lot of you athletes are very similar like this, where it's like that curiosity uh, about other athletes and what they're doing, and kind of where they get some of their inspiration. And it just seems like you could pluck you out and find another sport for you that would be winter, and you'd be great at that too. Probably, it's just a matter of which sport it is.
Yeah, I would hope that I've been watching all these and seeing all these other sports. I think it's hard for me to choose. I always thought when I was younger that I was going to be like the half pipe Shaun White guy because he was so big when I was a kid. But I think I more realistically would be the Nordic ski combined or cross country skiing, something like that, more endurance based.
Hey, I don't think you can get that injured in that. I think you can, although they do, they're going up and down hills still. That's the crazy
I
part.
know it's intense. I've watched a few of those races, and those guys
Yeah.
aren't messing around.
They're not playing, right? They're not playing. So Henry, tell everybody what you have coming up, and then where can everybody find you on social media?
Okay, so right now I'm just in a little bit of a base training phase for my outdoor season, but you can see me. I'm going to race a sound running meet on May 6th, do the 5K, and then start opening up my season, the 15 scheduled to come because we're kind of in between seasons. But you can get updated on all that kind of stuff in my Instagram, Winning, Twitter. Don't really use, but that's also Winning. So all these things are similar, but Instagram would be the place to find me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's been great having you. And for World's Greatest, you can find us on Twitter, World's Greatest without any of the vowels. Somebody's still sitting on World's Greatest on Twitter, like, and nothing's happening there. So we got to figure that out. But World's Greatest without the vowels, World's Greatest Team on Instagram. And then on YouTube, we're just World's Greatest. We got World's Greatest on YouTube.
That's a good snag.
Yeah, that was a good snag. Now we just got to keep cranking out the content. This is going to be a big year for us, Henry. So we're gonna we are kind of pulling around a new round of funding into the company and pushing it right into content creation. And one of the first things that we'll be doing is doing some work with you guys. So we're gonna start that planning coming up pretty soon here.
I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little embedding in the group. We want to see. We want to see the journey. I don't know if you got a chance to see the Boogie Down, the show with Boogie Johnson that we did last year, and so it's gonna have a look and feel like that. So I'm really excited about that. We're gonna continue that show with Boogie. we want to embed with Danny and you guys, and
That'd be
so that'd
great.
be
Cool
cool.
behind the scenes.
Yeah, we want to get in there, man. All right, and Henry, have a good night, and we'll obviously have to have you back on.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right, see you, buddy.
Bye.